Hi everybody, it's Rich. Welcome to week 10. So what we're going to do now is take the upload functionality that we did in our simple example and we want to include that in our movies application. So when I'm logged in right now to my week 10 application and I log into my movies page, we've got these 4 movies which we've inserted several weeks ago. What I've done, and hopefully you've downloaded the zip file already, there's a zip file where I've gone and grabbed the movie posters, an image that's, and I've resized it so it'll fit on our screen. We basically want to add the ability to upload a movie poster and then have it display along with each movie. So here's the zip file that I gave you. When you extract it to your computer, you'll get these 4 JPEGs, which are all sized roughly around 200 by 300 pixels for a small, almost thumbnail versions of the movie poster. So if you haven't downloaded this file already, it's right in the Activity 3 link on Blackboard. Before you get started, you want to pause the video, download, and open and extract this folder so that we can upload each image to our web application once we have all our coding done. So pause it now if you need to. If you've already got the zip file downloaded and extracted, we can continue. So the next thing we want to do when we're looking at a movie, obviously we have fields in our database for the movie title, the year, the length, and the URL. What we don't actually have is a place to store the name of the movie poster image file. So we're going to want to connect to our database, and we're going to want to modify our movies table by adding another column into it. So I'm just going to log in to my database. You'll need to do the same. And you can use MySQL Workbench, or you can use browser. I'll just click on my database over here on the left. That in effect runs a use command. And if I scroll down and find my movies table, now I could actually add it right through here. If I just click on in the structure, I could add it. I'm actually just going to go to my SQL tab, and we'll run a really simple query. Alter movies, add column. I'll call my column photo. It'll be well, you know what, just to be safe, we'll make it 100 characters in case we have a long file name. Actually, it can be null because we might add a movie without having a poster. So that's really all we need to do. It'll automatically add this column, 100 characters. Now we do have a couple of options. We could actually use a blob data type. Blob stands for binary large object. That's if we wanted to embed the photo, the actual JPEG file itself in the database. Usually it's not necessary to do this. Storing the actual files in the database takes up a lot of space, a lot of memory. It slows down the database. What typically we do with web applications is just store the name of the file as part of our database, and then we will just store the file itself that we upload through the browser on the server. So I think my query is okay. I'm just going to click on go to run it. Whoops, I'm missing something right away. I can see it should be alter table movies. We're adding a column called photo, which is 100 characters, variable length. Okay, says my query is successful. So now if we go and look at the 4 movies that we have, we can see we have null values in the photo, and that's fine. We will, once we get our upload functionality working on our page, we'll start to see these values getting populated. So that's step 1, is to run that SQL command. Again, I'll show you one more time. If you're having trouble getting it to work, the command you need is alter table movies, all lowercase. Remember, the names of our objects in MySQL database are case sensitive. And we're going to add column photo char 100. Okay, so you don't have to run the command if it ran successfully, but you'll need this SQL. We'll need to have that column built in our table before we can move on. So if you're having trouble, just pause it here, make sure you've got the command running and executing correctly, and ensure that your photo column is built. You'll have values of null. Once you've done that, it's time for us to open up our movie.php page in our code editor so that we can allow the users to upload a file. So I'm going to go down to my code editor, go back to my week 10 folder. I'm going to edit my movie.php file. So here's our form. So what we want underneath our final field set, where users can enter in the URL, I'm going to add in a new field set. Give it the same Bootstrap class of form group. And then we'll put on a label and an input. So we've got a label, and this time, if we look back at our upload page, we use an input type equals file. Now in this case we called it upload. We're going to do the same. We're just going to give it a name of photo instead. So I'm going to create a new input. In this case the type is file, the name is photo, and the value are going to store in the new photo column in our database. Now I can save this. As we talked about, there's one other thing that's important. Remember, whenever we're uploading files, they get converted to binary, and basically that binary is transferred from the end user's computer to the web server. That's how the file gets transferred. So if we look at our form tag that we have right now, we're going to have to do something in order to enable that binary conversion. If I save and upload my file right now, this is going to be here. My file dialog is going to be here, but no file is actually going to get transferred. So I'll just refresh. When I upload my movie page, then refresh, it looks like this should work, right? I now have a file dialog box. I can browse, I can pick a file. However, no upload is actually going to happen. Yes, I realized I picked the wrong image. The reason is because we're also missing in our form tag, go back to the upload page we did in activity 2, we're missing this encoding type. So again, that's what converts any file uploads to binary and allows the files actually to be copied from the client machine to the web server. So in my form tag, we're just going to add in the encoding type attribute. So encoding type equals, this is why I like code editors like Expression Web. They give me the code prompt so I don't have to type it all. So my encoding type is multi-part form data. So these are the only two things we need to do. So we've added the encoding type, this multi-part form data within our existing form tag, and we've added this field set on my line numbers 56, 57, 58, and 59. So you'll want to make these changes to your form. If you need to pause the video here to make sure you have your code correct, please go ahead and do so. I'm going to save and upload the file now, and then movie.php is done. So now I can go back to any one of my movies, and we have a browse button. The other thing we'll want to add later is, I never added a link to add. If I just go to my movie page without any ID on the URL, right, we built this all the way back in week 2 really, but we still have our upload here, which is good. As we're adding a new movie, we can also go ahead and upload a new movie poster. Later on, what we're going to want to do is change our movie page, so not only can we upload a photo, but we'll also check our database. If we have a photo value already, we'll want to go and generate an image tag using that photo value to display the poster for any movie that's already been uploaded. So that'll be step 2. First, we're going to go ahead and do the saving of the upload. So I'm going to need to open my Save Movie page. So we've already got 4 inputs for the title, year, length, and URL. So what we want to do is now we're going to add photo input. Now in this case, we're not using the post collection because this is a file upload. we're going to use the files collection, and the name of our file is called photo. So here's our input type equals file, and we called it photo. So we're going to save that object into a variable called $photo, and then we should be able to check so what we actually want to do, rather than make it equal to the file's photo, we're going to make it equal to the file's photo name property. So that'll tell us the name of the photo if anyone was uploaded. So we'll leave all our validation here. So now that we'll have the name, if the user uploaded a file, that our photo variable won't be empty. So after we check our validation, but before we save to the database, now we can save the photo if one was uploaded. I'll say if not empty, photo. So this means the user did upload a file. So we want to do a few things. First thing we want to do is make sure that the file that got uploaded is actually an image file, that it has either a JPEG or a PNG extension. So we can say so what we want to check is our file's photo type attribute. We're going to allow two different types. I'm going to put a second round bracket here. So if our type is not equal to image/JPEG, that's one condition, so that'll be in one set of round brackets. So the file is not a JPEG, and our second set, I'll put the brackets this way, and if our file's photo type is not a PNG either, then we need to tell the user the file's invalid. So this whole condition is in one set of round brackets, and then the two individual conditions, if it's not a JPEG and it's not a PNG, and there's our double ampersand is our AND operator in PHP. In this case, I'll say it's an invalid image type, probably. Then a message. We'll say OK is equal to false. So then we won't continue if we haven't gotten a valid JPEG. If we have gotten a valid JPEG, however, we'll need an else condition. So image format is valid. Create a unique name. Right? We said in activity 2 that the default behavior of PHP is to overwrite files. So if someone uploads a movieposter.jpg for one movie and then they upload a second file called movieposter.jpg, it's going to overwrite that first one. It won't automatically generate a unique name. So we need to do that. So what we can do is use our session. So before we do that, well, I want you to make sure on your Save Movie page at the top We're going to be potentially overriding the header, so we'll want our object output buffering at the start, we'll want OB start at the top, and we'll want OB flush at the bottom. Okay, so make sure you've added those. So first what we'll do is we'll call session underscore start to access the current session. We will use the server generated session ID to include the image name before we save it. Okay. So we're going to change our photo variable. So right now, for example, if we uploaded stevejobs.jpg, what we want to do is change that name to, so we're going to take our existing photo variable, and PHP has a built-in function called session underscore ID. You can see when I open the bracket. And what this does is generates, it gives us the value. It's a unique variable generated for every session on the web server. So we're going to take that and we're going to put that at the front of the movie name, the movie image name. So after that, we'll maybe put on a dash, and then so if it's stevejobs.jpg, it'll become abc123-stevejobs.jpg. So we're going to save the name this way. So if we upload the same movie poster in two different browsers, this session ID is going to be unique each time. We'll have a look at how this works. So the last thing we want to do is save the image to the images folder on the server. Now we've already created an uploads folder on the server for week 10. We don't have an images folder. So I'm going to create a new directory in week 10, call it images, and this is where we want to put the movie posters, in this folder. Okay. So now we're going to call our move uploaded file function that we used in activity 2. The move uploaded file takes two parameters. Where's the file now, and where's it going? So where it is now is from the files, file called photo. We want it from the temp name property. That's the current spot in cache where the file is, and we want to move it to images directory and save it with the, because I'm going to put a PHP variable here, I'm going to put this in double quotes, and then we want to use our $photo variable, which now includes our unique session ID. So that's where we want it to go. So once this code is done running, the file should get copied out of cache into the images folder, and it also should have our unique name. So I'm going to save that. That will upload the file. I can try this out, but we also still have to store the name, this new name, in our database. So if I upload my saved movie file and try it out right now, remember I've got the images subfolder created, so I'm going to just try it and see what happens. So now I'll browse, I'll pick Everest. We can have a look at how the upload works, but again, keep in mind our database won't be changed yet. We haven't added the file name into our SQL code. We'll do that next. So now when I click submit, okay, we're going to have to tweak our image type a bit. That's okay. We're checking for an image JPEG. Well, let's just see. I'm just going to go back to my upload page for a minute. pick my JPEG, we'll see what it tells me. It's an image/JPEG, so that's what I'm missing the E. So we need to check from image/JPEG or an image/PNG. So I'm going to add the E here, save my file. So we'll try that again. So I'll pick Everest. Okay. Oops, I got a result I didn't quite expect, which is I got my Everest movie created again. The reason is I neglected to store my movie ID, so I better add that. You'll already have this in your code. My code was missing it. So I can get rid of that, and we'll try it again. Try my upload again. So I'm going to delete my second Everest movie. I don't need that. Go back and edit my original one. We'll browse to my Everest JPEG. So it redirects me, and now if we look in my images file, here is my Everest.jpg, and you'll notice this unique session ID generated by the server, prefixed by the dash, and then the original file name. So the benefit of this is now if some other user goes and uploads a file that's called Everest.jpg on their computer, that session ID is going to be unique every time. So when we go in and edit the movie, the photo doesn't show up yet, but we're going to add that onto our movie page in a minute. So our save is done. I'll go in and I'll add the others. I won't add the Walk in the Woods, but I'm going to add the movie posters for Black Mass and Steve Jobs right now. I'll upload Black Mass. Oh, actually, I guess, sorry, I don't want to do that yet. I'm one step ahead of myself because we've uploaded the file to the server, but you'll notice we haven't added it to the database. I was thinking there was something else that was still missing. Okay, so not only do we want the file on the server, but we need that unique name, including the session ID, in our database, so we can identify which image file belongs to which movie record. So our file's being uploaded. So again, here was the code to do it. If we have a photo, and that photo is one of a JPEG or PNG, we're going to access our session, generate a unique ID, and copy that file with its new name to the images folder. Now we need the database part. So in both our insert and our update, we're going to add the photo. So I'm going to add photo to the list of values in my insert and create a parameter for it. And I'm going to do the same thing in my update statement. For updating title, year, length, URL, we'll also want to update my code editor's not wrapping, so I'm just going to add a comma after URL, photo equals, and our photo parameter. So now we'll also need to bind a fifth parameter with our command object. And in our database, we made it a 100-character string, the same as the URL. So now, not only are we going to save the file, but we're going to actually populate our photo parameter here in our insert and here in our update. Okay, so I'm changed lines 90, 94, and I've added line 103. So I'm going to save my changes. Go back out of my images folder into week 10 and re-upload save movie now. So now I will try to upload my Black Mass JPEG. And when I go into my images folder, notice we don't see it right away. It's only showing me the Everest. But if I right click and refresh, now we've got our Black Mass movie poster with our same session ID, because I'm still using that same Firefox session. So that ID is the same. Now what we need to do is check and make sure this name now shows up as the photo value in the MySQL database. So now if I browse, we can see that the photo is successfully saved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-upload my Everest photo to populate the photo, and we should see the file will have the same name because I'm the same user with the same browser session. But notice the timestamp on this one. It was uploaded at 10/11/16. So if I re-upload, we should see that time change. I'm going to edit my Everest movie. I'm going to browse. I'll pick Everest again. And now if I submit, if I refresh, so now I've got the same session ID, which is okay, but the unique name of Everest. If I go back and refresh, our time should get updated from 10/11 to 10/16 when I refresh, or 10/15. Okay, so the file's been overwritten. You can see the old file's gone and the new one has been updated. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the other two movies. So I'm going to edit Steve Jobs. And actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the Walk in the Woods poster out for now. So my first three movies have photos, all of which have been uploaded to the images folder. But Walk in the Woods is empty. Now the other thing that we want to do on our movie.php page is now when the user goes to edit or view a movie, we actually want to show if there is an existing photo, we want to display it. So on movie.php, we'll scroll up. This is where we look up an existing movie if the user's clicked at it. So we're populating the title, length, year, and URL. You can probably figure what we're going to do. We're going to populate the movie as well with the movie photo value. So now we'll know if we've uploaded an image, then we're going to have the name of that image along with our unique session ID in this photo variable. If we haven't uploaded an image, such as for the Walk in the Woods movie, our photo variable will be null. So what we can do in here, underneath our input equals file, we could try, we may have to move it around a bit. We'll put in a set of PHP tags with an if statement. Show the photo if one has already been uploaded. So we'll say if not empty photo, we will create an HTML image tag. So our file is in images, a slash, and then we'll append on our photo. We'll close our source tag, so we'll have single quote, double quote, and then we can just hard code in the title of So this image tag will get generated if and only if our photo is not empty. I think we've done this correctly. We may want to move it around, but I'm going to save it and upload and see what happens. And don't forget your closing PHP tag and your semicolon at the end. So I'm going to re-upload my movie page and refresh. So now our poster shows up. Let's go and look at our other movies. So Black Mass, there's our image. Steve Jobs, there's our image. Now Walk in the Woods has no movie, so it won't show because our photo value is null, which is fine. You know, if I wanted to go ahead and browse to Walk in the Woods, and upload, now when I go back, my poster's there. Now we should try and check this out for adding as well. So one of the things, if I go in and add a new movie, it should work for us as well. So I'm just going to pause the video for a second. I'm going to grab one other image and we can try it out. Actually, rather than grab another image, why don't I just do this? I'm going to delete and recreate my Walk in the Woods record. So I'm going to delete this record. I'll go and okay. And one thing that our little application is missing is there's no link to add a new movie. So on movies.php, up at the top, maybe right before our opening script, even before we create a table. Let's see, where do I want to do this? I'll just open up my header for a second. So maybe at the top of my movies page, right above, even after our header, I'm going to close my PHP tag, and I'll add a new one down below. And in between, I'm going to create a main section, give it a class of container. We'll put on an H1, our heading, and we'll also create a link to movie.php. And the text can say so this stuff can go at the top, and I'll take my ending main, I'll cut that, and I'm going to put that down below. Maybe I'll close my PHP tag here, end my main, and then open my PHP tag back up to require the footer. Okay. So all the code that builds our movies happens inside of this, our main section, and I've got at the top, I've got a header, and I've got a link to add a new movie, because right now within our application there is no link to that page. There's no easy way to get there. So I'm going to save my movies page, and now when I refresh it, it looks like this, which is okay. So the container adds some padding on the left and right. We've got our heading, and now we've got our add page. WalkinTheWoodsMovie.com. My length, I think, I'll have to double check. Make sure I get it right. .104 minutes. And now while I'm adding the movie, I will add in and make sure this works when we insert a new movie as well. So there's my my movie details. I've included my photo, and now when I submit, our movie is saved. When we go in, not only was our data saved, but our movie poster was saved. So these pages are done. We can now add an image. When we're adding a new movie, we can update an image for an existing movie, and we can display those images. We've given them unique names. So you have most of the mechanics of file upload. The other thing I want to add, we're going to do one more page. What I want to do is build a simple gallery that will show all of the images we've uploaded. So what you're going to do in your lab is you're going to basically be adding images to your books. You're going to have to go and find images, either find the real images, or you can use your own for the book covers, and we're going to do the same. Then we're going to build a page that shows both the movies and the books, both the movie and books thumbnails to all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new page, a new PHP page. I'm going to save this one as gallery.php, and I'm also going to create a link to it in my header. So if your header file isn't open, you'll want to open it up. And inside this section, so this is my private these are my private navigation links for people who are logged in. We've got movies, books, log out. We'll also have our link to our gallery. And in the gallery, basically, we can get rid of all of this HTML. We really just need at the top we need our header, and at the bottom we need our footer. And before we have our header, we should have set the page title. I'll put in a main section. I'll put in each one. Gallery. And then underneath, we're going to have two subsections. We're going to have two loops. One will be movies, and one will be books. So I'll put in a heading for movies. Okay, so I'm going to just save this page. So we're setting a title, adding our header and footer, and just putting a bit of static HTML in the middle, as well as we've linked to it in our header.php. So I'm going to upload those two files. Oops, I didn't put any text in the link in my header. I was missing this word in green. I created a link, but there was no text for users to click. So I'll re-upload my header with a quick fix. So now when I click on gallery, we get this page. There's the main heading, subheading, so I use H1 and H2. So what we want to do now is use a loop to go ahead and select all of the photo names from our movies table, and we're going to want to display the name of the photo and maybe the title, and we can make each photo a link to the movie page. Okay. So it'll sort of start to look almost like a Facebook photo album, or something pretty much all of you are going to be familiar with. We'll have to add a few other things. Okay. This page is private. So we'll require auth.php. underneath our movie page, we'll open and close a set of PHP tags, and we'll write some code so we can get the list of movies. And we'll put this entire thing in a try catch block as well for proper error handling. So we'll try this, catch any errors. If we get an error, we'll use header location to go to error.php. You could set up an email to send yourself the error, hit the email. We'll also at the top call will be start so we can redirect. And at the bottom after our footer, we'll call will be flush. So what we want to do in here is connect, where we require once to access our database, and down at the bottom we'll just disconnect. Our SQL query will be, we're going to select the movie ID, title, and photo. We don't need the year or the length from movies. And we'll maybe order it by the movie title. We'll make these alphabetical. We'll prepare our new command. Nothing new here. We'll execute the query. And we'll say movies equals fetch all. So now we want to loop through for each of our movies, we'll call each one a movie, as we have previously. What we're going to want to print out is a div tag. And we'll give it this funky bootstrap class. We'll try this. Call small 3, call MD4. This should give us 3 images across in a row. We may have to play with this a bit. And then inside of here, we'll output an image tag for source equal to images. And now we'll append on our movie photo value. This is dynamic. We'll set the title to our movie title. So put in a double quote, single quote, and append on this dynamic field. Single quote, double quote. And we'll end our div. We'll probably have to tweak of this a little bit, but we're going to try this and see how it looks. Okay? So we're simply running a query, and we're going to create a new div, separate div tag, and generate an image inside of each div tag for now. So I'm going to save and upload. My gallery page. We'll see how it comes out. We're probably going to have to play with it a little bit. Oops, little syntax error. Obviously I have something open and not closed. Oh, in my catch, let's see. I never said what I was catching. So we need to catch any errors. if I save my changes. So now we've got our movie showing up. Now the other things we can do a couple of other things with these. I'm going to give my image a class. This is another Bootstrap class called thumbnail. I'm going to add this inside of my image tag. This gives it a little border. A little bit of padding. So you'll notice that call small 3, call medium 4, that's what breaks these onto separate lines that continue to go across the page 3 at a time. The other thing we might want to do is also add in here, let's add a text center to our class, and then maybe underneath photo, let's add in, let's try a small heading H5, and we'll append on the name of the movie. We won't close the quote because it ends here. So I'm going to add line 28 after my image, and we'll set it as text center. This should print the name of the movie title underneath the movie poster. My text center didn't quite show up where we wanted it to. Maybe align them left for now. The last thing that we could do is turn these into links. So we can make it so the whole image is a link. So above my image, I'm going to create an A tag. And this link is going to go to movie.php. And now we'll need to pass in, I'll depend on my movie ID. Single quote, double quote, that ends my href, and the title will be click for details. So we'll have the same title on all of them. I'll just indent my image to make it more readable. So the movie image is now a link. When we click on the poster, we're going to get taken to movie.php and pass in the proper movie ID. This is why we needed to select the movie ID, title, and photo. We want to use the ID as a link, we want the photo to display, and we want the title to appear underneath. So now when I click on the gallery, oops, I can see I'm missing, in the link I'm missing an equal sign. So this is to be movie ID equals. I need that equal sign after movie ID. So now I can click on any poster. And it will take me to that movie. So that concludes this part of activity 3. Once you have the file upload working, the individual movie posters displaying, and your gallery page done, you can click Mark Reviewed and move on to this week's lab.